Clinical psychologist. A clinical psychologist specializes in the assessment, diagnosis, and treatment of psychological problems and mental illness. They use psychological methods to assess and treat mental illnesses such as anxiety, behavioral and eating disorders, chronic pain, depression, schizophrenia, loss and grief, difficulties in couple and family relationships, addiction, obsession and compulsive disorder, personality problems, and sleep disorders. After discussing the client's issues of concern, a clinical psychologist will explore and assess the client's thoughts, emotions, intellectual functioning, and their behavior. They will then help the client discover an effective way of controlling and coping with these thoughts and behaviors. Clinical psychologists can also be involved in creating and designing promotional mental health programs, and they are able to deal with a variety of individuals from infants to adults. To become a clinical psychologist, you need to have 4 years in the Australia Psychological Association. More often than not, this is an honours in psychology and 2 years with work experience or postgraduate studies in clinical psychology. Depending on what exactly a specified clinical psychologist is doing, they can work in a private practice, hospital, universities, general medical practices, community health centres, or in mental health services. A clinical psychologist is paid depending on how long they have been in the practice and where they are located, but in either alternative, the minimum wage would be around $51,000 a year. Sports psychologists. A sports psychologist performs a range of tasks, but mostly helps people involved in sport and exercise. By doing so, they help these people so that they can perform at their very best, or at least get them involved so that they can slowly develop in sporting and teamwork, or even to just improve their well-being. Having a sports psychologist there for you is especially good for people who need encouraging, for things like depression, burnout, weight management, and balancing sport with your work, school, family, and social life. Not only does a sports psychologist help people with improving their performance, but more importantly, they help them improve their mental skills, as well as managing their performance anxiety, stress, time, and team building. Sports psychologists are commonly found in a private practice with different sport teams or at the Institute of Sport. They work with professional athletes, coaches, trainers, doctors, umpires, and referees, and with organizations that are helping motivate people that are in or wish to become in the field of sport. A sports psychologist's annual wage is between $40,000 and